The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now, 865-243-TALK. That's 243-8255. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
This is the Patrick Riggins Show. Each week we are here talking about how we as a country are flirting with disaster and how you can fix that. How you can help walk this country back from the brink and towards freedom and liberty. Walking along with us is the station here in Knoxville, broadcasting this message of freedom and liberty, 100.3 WNOX. We are pumping out 100,000 watts of radio frequency power, enabling us to be heard in 5 states and 2 time zones. We are also piping the message onto the internet, so no matter where you are in the world, if you have unfiltered internet, you have us. Be aware, though, in parts of this world, namely China, North Korea, that'd be North Korea for people not in East Tennessee, and even Washington, D.C., this message of freedom and liberty is not welcome. So if you live in those types of areas, be sure and use headphones so you won't be caught by the governmental authorities listening to this blasphemous ideas being presented here. The address on the internet, if you'd like to listen, is wnoxfm.com. Which reminds me, on the last show, I stated you can listen to this show every Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which was correct. But I made an error in my quick mental calculating of GMT time. The correct time would be 1900 hours Greenwich Mean Time. Thank you to my dad for correcting me after last week's show. That address again is wnoxfm.com. Another person who spends half his day correcting my errors is our show producer, Tori, sitting right next door and playing the air guitar to Molly Hatchet here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to say, you know, if you're in a hurry, and you can make note of this, Tori, if you're in a hurry, and let's say you're trying to get to a radio show, and usually I bring the guys here something to eat. So if you go by a Wendy's and you see a sign that says, hey, we're closed due to a fire, and you think, I'll just run down the street to a Burger King, don't do it unless you have about 20 minutes. I mean, in the drive-thru. I mean, when they have valet parking for the drive-thru, then something's wrong. So, but that was a little hairy coming in here.
You had a bogus burger experience, right?
Yes, I did. I was sitting in the drive-thru, kept looking at the clock and thinking, gee, am I going to make it, or do I need to start texting Tori and say, you're going to have to start this show? So, but I did make it. Make it we did.
Yes.
So it was kind of hairy there. So.
Well, I'm glad to see you.
Oh, yes.
And thank you for the burger.
Oh, you're very welcome. Now, Tori can make it through the next couple of hours here.
Oh, yeah. Sitting watching the press conference about Derek Dooley. Dooley's not on it, but yes, he is gone. He is history.
You knew that was coming.
He is no more.
Yes.
He is an ex-coach.
He is no longer king.
He is just to be.
Yeah. Well, you know, if the station wanted me to leave and they'd pay me $5 million to do it, I'd probably head out the door.
Yes. Wait a minute. Favorite part. Hold on. Okay.
Had to get that part in. Oh, yes. People probably tune in and say, are there kids running the station during this hour?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay. Getting on with the show. Thank you for tuning in and listening again this week. Like every week, we have a lot to get to. But first, I would like, again, to thank the great state of Texas for standing up for the rights of its citizens. I had a story about them a couple of weeks ago involving Attorney General of Texas advising the United Nations elections monitors that they would be arrested for breaking election law if they tried to monitor polling places within that state. That was, I think it was the 28th October when we had that show. Now, Texas Representative David Simpson pre-filed a bill called the Texas Travel Freedom Act. This bill would make it a criminal act to intentionally touch parts. I won't read since it's Sunday, but touching parts, including touching through clothing, without probable cause in the process of determining whether to grant someone access to a public venue or means of public transportation. A public servant acting under color of his office or employment commits an offense if he removes a child younger than 18 years of age from the physical custody or control of a parent or a guardian of the child, or a person standing in the stead of a parent or guardian of the child. Simpson said that since the federal government won't back off these intrusive and unconstitutional searches, now what he's talking about, of course, is the TSA. The responsibility of protecting its citizens falls to the states and ultimately to the people themselves. Now, if you live in Texas, you need to be sure and write your representative and have them sign on as a co-sponsor of this legislation. It's Texas House Bill 80. If you don't live in Texas, then you need to write your local state-level representatives and have them introduce similar legislation during the next session. However, you're going to have to help sell this to the rest of people of your state. You're going to need everyone you can to help pressure your state legislatures to pass this bill. Just getting it introduced won't be enough. And, the fact is, and I'll just be honest with you here real quick, as you know I'll always be, if you aren't going to try to see this legislation through, then don't bother getting it introduced, because you're only going to harm its chances of getting passed in other states. You see, each time a bill dies without being passed, it tells the legislators that there is not enough support to back it, even if it's not in their own state. If a particular bill is introduced one year in a neighboring state and it fails, then it gets, say, introduced in their home state, they're going to wonder just how much support it really has, and will this representative suffer anything for not supporting or voting for it? It's much easier in government to not do something, to say no, to stick with the status quo, than for someone to stick their neck out on an issue and possibly get it cut off. But anyway, I wanted to start the show off with that. The great state of Texas sticking up for the rights of its citizens. We are up on the first break already. We have a lot to get to, and we'll get started right after these important messages from people helping to keep this show on the air.